Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Overhauled with the Diesel Queen. Today I have on here Sam, who is a heavy diesel mechanic, and she now runs her own business. So Sam, why don't you kind of do an introduction and kind of talk us through your career path?
As of right now, I've been in the industry for about 20 years now. I started off as a mechanic in the Army. Got certified as a mechanic 63 Bravo, which kind of changed over to a 91 Bravo. After I got out the Army, I pursued my degree in automotive and diesel technology. So I got that, got plenty of certifications along the way, got some ASC certifications just by being in the field for a while. My business has been established for 7 years now. I currently do mobile repairs, so all of my technicians, they go out. We do preventive maintenance, repairs, we do clutches, transmissions, and we're not doing more so internal engines since we're in the field, but we definitely do a lot of repairs when it comes to the engine. We specialize in doing diagnostics, so we're very acute when it comes to doing diagnostic repairs. A lot of our customers come to us for that type of stuff, and that's pretty much it. Just a little small background of us.
Well, that's cool. The field work is, that's hard work. You know, some people look down on it and they're like, oh, well, you know, the jobs you're doing aren't that hard. And it's like, yeah, but they're also doing it on the side of the fucking road or in a fucking field, right? Like, it's, you know, it's way harder than doing an engine rebuild in the shop, in a nice enclosed, heated shop.
Nice, comfortable, cozy, you know. Yeah, it's definitely a difference. Being in a shop environment, like I said, I've worked in shops, worked for a lot of Fortune 500 companies. So that's kind of like where I gained a lot of experience as far as my hands-on, because even once you get the education, you still got to get the hands-on experience. That's when you really go how to do what you do. So I kind of acquired a lot of my hands-on by working at different companies and learning, you know, working on forklifts, just pretty much anything. And once you learn, you just kind of apply the same things. You got different things, but for the most part, you just apply the same principles. So,
well, the first step in being a mechanic and being a good mechanic is understanding how the systems work, right? That's the main thing. So that's kind of where the schooling comes in, right? You know, knowing how the systems work and understanding how they work. Because if you don't know how they work and you don't know how it's supposed to work properly, you're never going to be able to figure out what's wrong with it. But, you know, you also have to be able to apply that hands-on. You have to be able to apply that knowledge. I've met a lot of kids that are really big smart and really know their shit, but they can't transfer that and apply it to what they're doing. So...
yeah, I do. I would say is, you know, like being in this field, you will see a lot of it. Like I said, you got to be very diverse where you can kind of like mix. Like even like with certain mechanics, when they say I only know how to work on this, it's like I feel like if you're a mechanic and you're really good at what you do, then you should be able to work on like anything, you know, especially with certain, like nothing's going to change. They all kind of like, I mean, of course, if it's diesel and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're going to use the same principle. So. And then a lot of times, like with the guys, they have all the books in, like you said, but they won't know how to apply it. So it's like, you know, I can be technical sometimes, but I like to be straightforward with it and just kind of get stuff done and not really, you know, be so technical with it. So, or they'll come and tell you all the specs on the engine. That's all cool, but can you fix it?
Yep, exactly. Well, that's what manuals are there for, right? Like, you know, you don't need to fucking remember all that shit.
I'm not an encyclopedia where I just need to remember every specs for every truck, but I know how to go get the information though. So
Yep, I've met mechanics that can quote every single line from like every single Will Ferrell movie on the planet and like songs and movies. It's like, man, if you fucking applied that to like service manuals, you would be a walking like, hey, come here. Okay, what's the torque spec on this 606A head bolt? Hey, come here. Like, if you would apply that, that'd be fucking great. This particular person was a really good mechanic. He actually started off as a military airplane mechanic. Boy, was his commentary, he was a comedian. He was hilarious. Well, You know, that's kind of a given if he knows every single line from every Will Ferrell movie. That kind of gives you a insight on his humor level. But yeah, I was like, man, if you would use that part of your brain that stores all those Will Ferrell jokes and apply it to manuals, dude, you wouldn't even need your computer.
Right. It'd make it pretty cool.
I can't fucking remember shit like that. I have to have manuals. There's no fucking way. If you do it enough times, eventually I remember it, but it's...
If
I'm definitely not
thing all the time, then of course some stuff becomes repetitious, but like I know with us, like we work on so much different equipment, so it's like you gotta go reference a manual because a lot of stuff changes. You know, they tweaking. You know, that sensor might change on this truck, and then you can't use that sensor on this. So it just kind of like, you know, you still gotta reference that mug even when you, because it's always changing. Stuff always changing.
Agreed. It's a learning curve every day. You're learning something new, and if any mechanic that tells you they know it all, they don't know shit.
Done it for 25 years. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. I'm like, yeah, you've been doing the same thing for 25 years, okay?
Yep. And it's still, you learn something new every day, right? You never stop learning.
Never. Like, if you say you know it all, then it's like, you're not going to know it all. Cause
you're not trying hard enough. If you think you know everything, you're not trying hard enough.
Helps because it's forever changing. It's so many different things. So that's why I love what I do, because I'm always like challenged to do different things instead of like just doing repetitious work, and that makes me bored. So I like just the variety of it.
Well, the diagnostics side of machines nowadays with, you know, the hydraulics and the electrical and the complex components and like transmissions and shit like that, like that's, I think it's cool. I think it's fun. Like it's like a puzzle, right? It's a puzzle you have to figure out, and I enjoy that challenge. There's definitely mechanics that don't, but I enjoy that part of it. Every now and then you get like, especially electrical jobs that just fucking run you through the mud because it's just a fucking disaster. But for the most part, I like it. I like the steps. I like figuring shit out. To me, that's fun.
You definitely got to have some type of challenges at some point, sometimes, and stuff like that, just to kind of keep your brain conditioned a little bit, so you can always be more alert and kind of figure things out. It kind of just keep them skills sharpened, I would say. But it definitely can be like mind-boggling, and a lot of people don't want to tap into that part of it. But I feel like because a lot of what we're doing and how technology is going and how it's just being implemented on everything with these trucks and equipment, it's almost like inevitable that you're gonna have to like tap into it at some point. Agreed.
I agree. You know, well, there's always that one kid in the shop, right, that can't diagnose for fuck, and he's just given like, you know, oil changes and like real. You got us sitting next to you. Like that motherfucker. It's okay. Here's an example. But you know, there's always that one fucker that it's like, you can't trust do big jobs. They fuck up everything they touch, which everybody fucks shit up. But like some people take that as like a challenge. I fucking swear they take it as a challenge.
You gonna mess, you just gotta know how to fix it. You know, when you mess up, you just gotta know how to correct it before it gets out.
Yep. So that's the thing, is it's only a fuck up if A, you do it twice, or B, it leaves the shop fucked up.
Right.
Like everybody here has fucked up.
Right. Like if you haven't, like I said, we not perfect, man. Sometimes you might have a bad day, you know, and then that kind of like you just not feeling it. So.
Yep. Well, sometimes you're looking at a problem and you're just like, you're trying to brain, but your brain doesn't want to brain. So yeah, we all have those days.
Somebody else in there that kind of like, you like, man, I knew that, but your brain, you just can't go any further because you done maxed out.
Yep, been there. I've met a couple of mechanics before that claim they have never fucked anything up and that they're just like God's gift to the planet. And it's like, bro, I just watched you. You know why you don't fuck anything up and why you're never wrong? Because you replace like the entire fucking machine for everything that you fix, right? Like, I just watched you replace 4 wiring harnesses, like 18 sensors and 2 controllers on a backhoe. Okay, of course you were right. You replaced the entire electrical system. Like,
he said, we're not using leaving no arrow. We're not leaving no stone unturned. We changing everything in the system. It's on.
Yeah. Like, of course you fixed it. You put an entire new electrical system on the motherfucker.
He don't understand
like,
cost. You know, cost right there.
And he got away with it too. And the customer paid for it. I'm like, dude. And then I just saw this particular individual, which I will not name names. What I just saw in the company profile on LinkedIn that he was named like Technician of the Year or something like that. I'm like, oh God. Oh my God. What does your shop come to? No.
Here. After spending $100,000 on like this.
So some things that guy like understood pretty well. And I'm not saying like he was like the worst mechanic I've ever seen in my life, but he loved to just change everything and make things like I watched him. He was pulling a transmission on a backhoe. And on John Deere backhoes, you lift them all the way up with the outrigger in the bucket because you have to drop the transmission out the bottom. I've done 1,000 of these things. 1,000 of these things. And I've always like just ratchet strapped the hydraulic pump up to the steering wheel bracket and like pried it out of the way. That's how I've done all of them. And if you want to remove the hydraulic pump, it's not that heavy. If you really like feel the need to take it off. This motherfucker spent like 4.5 hours or 5 hours making a fucking bracket for this fucking hydraulic pump to like bolt it up. I don't know why, but it's like, dude, you just wasted like, this job is a 16-hour job or like it's like an 8-hour job, right? It should take like 4 hours to pull it out, 4 or 5 hours to put it back in. If you know what you're doing, that's what it should take. And you spent 5 hours making a fucking bracket that you didn't even need because you were too lazy to fucking just like either I'm 120 pounds. I can lift it out. I'm pretty sure you can. Or just ratchet strap it to the steering wheel. That works great too. I've done that on every single one of them.
To get it out the way.
Yeah, I told him that too. I tried to help him. Like, hey, you can just like, ratchet strap. This is a trick that my first boss showed me. Like, oh, hey, you just run a ratchet strap up to the steering column bracket and like ratchet it up and then pry bar it out of the way and it like works great. All right, motherfucker. You know better. Go for it. Have fun.
He one of those ones that you can't tell him nothing.
Oh, and no one could tell him anything either. It wasn't just because I was a girl. And like anybody in the shop that tried to help him out or tell him anything, he knew better. So it's like you couldn't help him. It's like whatever.
Call me, that's crazy. Yeah, it's a lot of, that's what I would say, like in this industry, like dealing with guys, they think they know it all, and then like you being a female is like, you can't know more than me because I'm a male, so I'm supposed to know more than you. And that's just crazy to me. That theory is just crazy. It's like, man, how many, like you said, you did 100 of these, and this probably like his first or second one, and he won't even listen to you because you got more experience than him in what you're doing. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, so there's two extremes, right? There's like the guys that, assume that you're stupid because you're a girl, which honestly I've rarely come across. Or there's the guys that think you're like God's gift to the planet and you've been like sent down from heaven just because you're a girl. And then they expect you to like just be able to poof magic at shit and it's fixed because you're a girl. And it's like, dude, I'm the same as everybody else here. Like, there's good women mechanics and there's bad women mechanics and there's average. We're the same. It's just there's not as many of us. So like it's more noticeable on, if you're in a shop a lot of the like average guys or the guys that are a little below average can kind of just skate through and not really be noticed, right? But the women, like, if you're not good at what you do, people will notice. So
it's like, and that's what kind of like with me, that's why I've always kind of like just like been so hard on myself in terms of where, as far as like studying and challenging myself, and like just because I always had to prove myself, no matter where I was at, no matter what job I was at, it was automatically assumed that, you know, you got to show me. You know, we have to prove ourselves, but a guy could come in and then it's just automatically assumed that if he say he this, then that's what it is. Like,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was really hard on myself. Still am hard on myself, but especially when I first started in the industry, I was super hard on myself. I would fuck shit up and I'd be so fucking mad at myself. But I was new, right? It was like my first year in the industry. So, and everybody knows the first year you try and work on stuff, you fuck up everything you touch. Like everything you fucking touch. And I was fucking shit up, and what did I fuck up? I don't remember what I fucked up. I think I did like a clean out on a skid steer, which a contamination clean out is where there's metal in the system because something got fucked up, and it was so bad that I had to replace every single hydraulic component and like sponge out all the lines and clean the tank. Like it was like 100-hour job. And yeah, and I was given that like within 7 months of working there, and they gave it to me because they're like, we don't really care how long it takes you, right? This is a great learning experience to learn where all the parts are because you got to take all of them out, so you'll know where all of them are, right? And I put the hydraulic pump back onto the hydrostatic pump stack without an O-ring, and I didn't know any better because I'm like, I don't think there was an O-ring on there, so I just, they were brand new hydraulics or hydrostatic pumps and brand new hydraulic pump. And I got the hydrostatic pumps bolted onto the engine, and I went to go slap the little fucking hydraulic pump on there, and I just fucking slapped it on and sent it. Dude, I test ran that thing for like 20 hours. Not a leak. Not a drip. I sent it back to the customer, and within a week, it's like pouring fucking oil out of there, right? Because that's where all the case drain is for the, like... And my boss is so mad at me. Yeah, dude, I ran that thing forever and it didn't leak. And then the customer gets in, it fucking leaks. So I'm mad at myself, right? I'm irritated as fuck. And my boss comes out and he's all mad and he looks at me and he's like, you know, I was going to come out and chew your ass and be mad at you for this, but you are clearly being harder on yourself than I was going to be. So I'm going to let you beat yourself up, and I'm going to go back to the office and just... don't let this last longer than 15 minutes because you got other shit you gotta do. So just whatever. And he went back to the office. So yeah, I've always been really hard on myself and things like that, especially if like I think something's good and I try really hard and I think it's right and it leaves and then it has a problem later. I hate that. I hate that. It eats at my soul.
And like a lot of times, like you said, once they put a load on it, that's probably when they actually like, because they was working it harder. Like when you had it running, it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't working hard. It was just idling really. So like sometimes it just, some things happen where you can't, you know, you might not get to the bottom of it right then. So it's no big deal.
Yeah. Yep. Shit happens. Like I swear to God, some machines are just like, that way. You can run them like, well, especially when I ran this machine, I was just starting out and I was digging it in the work pile. I distinctly remember it had the foot controls, and this was the first time I ran a skid steer like that extensively, and I thought I was running it hard enough, but apparently, as my boss told me later, he's like, you gotta run it like you want to break it. Like, run it like you want to break it. And I'm like, well, doesn't that defeat the purpose of what I just fixed? But he's right. Because people run these machines like, run it like a rental, run it like you want to break it. That's how you got to run them to test run them. Because if you don't, the guy that is supposed to run it will. And he will break, he'll break it.
They going to let you know off the muscle, like, hey, it's not right. They definitely will make it hard for you. So, definitely. But that's cool.
Yep.
So, you like on a lot of industrial equipment, mostly heavy equipment?
I worked on semis for like, I actually went to college for semis. And I worked on semis for like 4 months for international. and they cut my hours like really bad. Me and the other new kid, they like didn't have any work, and they cut me and the new kid's hours like way down to where I was only getting like 40-hour paychecks, and that paychecks were every 2 weeks. So that was only averaging like 20 hours a week. And so I interviewed every fucking semi truck shop in the area. I interviewed with all of them, put my application in. Nobody would hire me. Or if they wanted to hire me, it was for like night shift. And I didn't want to do that. I actually had one truck dealership. It wasn't a dealership. It was like a hauling company called, I think it's called Western Distributing Co. And they have like beautiful, like they spit shine their chrome every day, like gorgeous wreckers and semis, like Peterbilts. And at the time, I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. I want to work here. And I toured their shop and I interviewed, and the boss didn't have the nerve to tell me. But one of the other people that was in the shop, I was sitting in my truck and he came out and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know that our boss told us that he's not hiring you because he thinks you'll be a distraction. And I'm like, well, fuck, that sucks. What? I'm just trying to go to work, man. Yeah, so that was kind of like, that was one of the very few instances I've had where like I haven't been hired. Caterpillar kind of did the same thing. The guy interviewed me and he like asked me this was like right, I had never even worked in a shop at this point. I was fresh out of school and he knew that. I didn't lie. And he's like, well, do you have experience on international? Because it's not going to be on the truck side of Caterpillar, and they run international trucks. And he's like, oh, do you have experience in this and this and this? I'm like, dude, I told you I don't have any experience. And he's like, well, I don't know if we can hire you. I'm like, I told you I didn't have any experience. I'm like 90% sure he agreed to do an interview because he wanted to see who I was, because he saw a girl apply. He had no interest in hiring me. Probably because of my experience level, like I didn't have any experience, but just tell me that. Don't waste my time. Just tell me like, hey, we need someone with more experience. I don't know if you've ran into anything like that.
I mean, I would say like when it comes to like jobs and stuff, like when I would say, I ran into more so like not being selected for a job just because, and I'm like, why not? Because I have all the credentials. So it was kind of like one of those things where it's like, why won't you hire me? But when that stuff did happen to me, I don't want to say the company name, but it was just kind of like, I ended up starting work for another company. So it still worked out because even if by them not selecting me, I wouldn't even want to work for that company anyway.
Exactly.
Like, no. So that was cool. It was just like everything just kind of like works out. Whatever was meant is meant for me. So, I mean, that's kind of like how I look at it. But I would just
agree
say,
with that.
Doing process, it has always been very challenging, and they ask a lot of questions. And sometimes on some of the jobs I've had, you have to do a hands-on test. So we'll do a written test and then hands-on test. So, I mean, once I do those, it's kind of like, they really can't deny you in terms of what you can do once you prove yourself, honestly.
Yeah.
But unless they want other issues, but yeah.
Well, that's what I always try and tell women that are entering this industry, or women that, are worried about stuff like that, is I tell them all the time, like, you know what? If you happen to run across a shop or a boss that is a problem, I've always told women, don't fucking fight it. If these guys don't want you there, or they think you're a problem, or they don't want to do this or that, there is 1,000 shops out there that would love to have you. Go work for someone else. It's not worth it.
Like, in like big companies, right? So I work for like a government, and like when I work, like not in the Army, but another government institution, and when I work for them, everything goes by seniority and that. So like when it came up for me to apply for another position, I applied for the position. I was qualified for the position, but then there was other people that had been there longer than me that wasn't qualified. But because I applied and got it, it was just automatically like, oh, it was just like so much negativity.
Probably said it was because you're a girl that you got it.
Yeah.
Army, this and that's why she got it, not because of, like, no, I'm just that, like, so it just, they started like just blackballing me in the terms of like just trying to do stuff to like, get under my skin and like just doing contact, so just doing stuff, because basically once I got awarded the position and it was two other guys that was working in the same shop that wanted the position, it was like they was just they made it hard. I ended up leaving because it was just kind of like, I don't want to work in an environment where I feel like, I'm not protected, and then I have to deal with harassment and stuff like that. So
yeah,
like different, you just got to find the right company to work for that's going to appreciate you and what you bring to the company.
Well, and there's a lot of companies that will. Like, there are a lot of companies that are more than happy to have you. And like, more than happy. I mean, right now companies just need mechanics. So, if you got good credentials, if you got experience, they don't give a fuck if you're male, female, the letters, people, they don't care who you are. If you're a good mechanic, they want to have you. And that, I think right now is a great time to be in the industry, because especially if you are a female trying to get into the industry, I think now's a great time, because people want anybody. They don't have the ability to be discriminatory. They can't.
It's a shortage of mechanics, and it's a shortage of good mechanics. So
yes,
I encourage any female that want to like learn and try to get into this industry, like tap in, because I mean, it's so many different variables. Like, you working on machines, I'm working on trucks and stuff like that. So it's just so many ways that you can come into this industry and make money and be successful. So,
and that, well, most shops will give you all of the tools you need to be successful, right? They'll give you the training, they'll give you the experience, and right now they're so strapped for mechanics that most shops can't just leave you. A lot of people and a lot of women I've talked to are scared, like, well, they're just gonna make me a lube tech for the rest of my life. I'm like, not right now. They can't fucking afford to leave you as a lube tech. They're gonna need you to step the fuck up and do other work.
Hey, they need help, okay? Like, it's a struggle. It's a struggle out here. If you stuck at doing lube work, it's just because that's what you want to do. That's what you're content with doing. But it's just so many, like you said, opportunities out here and companies that you can work for, and pretty much they'll be happy just to have somebody that can turn wrenches and understand a 13 millimeter and things like that. You know what I mean? Like,
know the order of standard wrenches. Yeah, that's an improvement. Some of the, what I've always told people going into this industry, because training facilities nowadays are giving kids like a way fucked up perspective on what they can expect out of the first couple of years of their career, because they're in these training facilities, right? And they're doing engine rebuilds. And, even in Wyotech, right? I was doing, on semis, we were doing engine shit and transmissions. We like tore like Eaton Fuller 18 speeds, like all the way down and put them all the way back together. And, I kind of, growing up in a blue collar household, I kind of had a little bit more of a realistic expectation. I knew I had to prove myself, right? I knew I was going to start at the bottom, doing easy shit, and I'd have to work my way up. But there's a lot of kids, men and women, especially the men, that enter this industry straight out of tech school, and they are pissed off that they're not doing engine rebuilds right away. And it's like, dude, you're tearing apart and putting back together that's been torn apart and put back together like 1,000 times in tech school that isn't supposed to run. Like, you gotta prove you can do an oil change right first before they start giving you other jobs.
Don't put you working on a $20,000, $30,000 engine or more than that. No, that was just a play. This is real life.
Exactly. You fuck up an engine in this industry, that's $70,000 out the window.
Sorry. We're not going to just let you play with a customer engine like that. We're going to have to start you here. So, yeah.
Yep.
And that's even still, like, a lot of places, like I said, they don't go and get into the rebuild of it. Like, or they have a shop that does the rebuilds and then put it in. And So it just different. It just depends. Like it depends on the level of the shop and what they're doing at their shop.
Well, nowadays it's cheaper for the customer. Dealerships have made it, like coming from a dealership, John Deere made it cheaper and making more sense to do a reman or a complete engine than a rebuild. Because yeah, a rebuild costs like 25 or 30 grand and a new engine costs like 65 or 70 grand, but the new engine comes with a 2-year warranty. It's way less downtime, right? That's what people don't think about. They don't think about the money people lose from downtime. So it's way less downtime, way less labor. So people are opting into doing that because, you get a rebuild and your labor is only warranted for like 90 days. And you got to pay the labor and you've got to have your machine down for the 2 or 3 weeks it takes to get all your parts and do all of the rebuilds and then put it back together and then put it back in the machine. And it just makes way more sense for customers, especially things like engines, to just do a reman.
Drop that core off, throw that in there, and keep it going. Because, they rebuild at the end, but like to bring it into the shop and then, like you said, it's going to be down for weeks, just trying to do a rebuild when you can already have one done and you just throwing it in there and keeping it moving.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Well, especially in production machines and production operations, even John Deere with their production class machines, they have a system set up with their parts that they have like super fast shipping, and they have these engines like these 13.5s sitting, waiting to go out because the production class, they need that machine. The downtime is more expensive than the repairs. So they have it set up to where, you trash a fucking engine in a loader, like an 844 aggregate handler, and I believe that's a 16. I don't remember what size engine is on one of those. Anyways, the aggregate handlers and the production class machines, you can get an engine in one of those ripped out in like a day and a half, and get the new one put in like a day and a half. And that's way fucking faster than ripping it all down.
Right. Waiting on parts too. That's the main thing.
Yep.
I know you said they got the expedited shipping, but you still, everything. It got to be perfect. Like you got to have everything, and sometimes something might not be right, this and that. So then we got more delays. So it definitely sometimes make it a smart way to go ahead on and just put a reman and do it that way, especially in. Because they go based off hours, so it was like
well, and the material moved and shit like that. That's forestry, mining operations like that. They can't afford to be shut down. And you get some of these rebuild kits from John Deere themselves, and you get a rebuild kit, and they give you a motherfucking box of O-rings, and it's like none of them are labeled. It's just every O-ring from the valve cover to the fucking oil pan, like any of those little O-rings and everything in there is all just shoved into one box, and that covers multiple engines, right? Or like multiple, like, of that same engine, but multiple, different ones. So you're like looking at this fucking box and you got 8,000 O-rings in there. It's like, dude, it's gonna take me for fucking ever to figure out where these fucking go. And this is an internals of an engine and shit like that, so it's fucking important. So I can't just like throw some random shit in there and pray. Yeah, John Deere loves to do that. They send you a rebuild gasket kit, and it's like all of the gaskets and O-rings just like fucking clusterfuck together. It's like, this is great. Yeah, exactly. When something's leaking later, I'll know what I missed.
Right.
So, you run a company now?
Yeah, Smart Decision Truck Repair.
So what's that like?
I mean, pretty much we go out to different locations. A lot of times we do a lot of maintenance and stuff, but we do major repairs. We pretty much break down everything on the engine. We'll do injectors. Only thing we won't do in the field is rebuild. So we'll do pretty much anything on the engine, outside the engine, oil pans. We'll drop the transmission, do the clutches. We'll change out the actuators inside the clutch actuators and stuff for the automatic transmissions, and pretty much everything. We do it in the field.
Damn.
So yeah,
that's some heavy shit to be doing in the field.
I know, but you know what? Like, I guess like I like
that's cool.
Like the freedom of it, and
yeah.
Shop, and I worked in the shop for long. But you know what I didn't like about being in the shop? I guess it's like it becomes more political and like, you know,
a lot of drama.
Yeah, like it just is. So it's like men act like women sometimes. If you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, men or am I?
Yes. I agree. Some of the shop drama that I have witnessed in my time, it's like I thought I was working with men, but we're fighting like a bunch of fucking girls. Like, Joe looked at you wrong and you're mad about it. Like, really, guys? Really? We're not the shop ladies or the fucking office ladies, okay? Why don't you guys go fist fight it out and you're good, right? Men do that, right? You fist fight it out and then you're fine and let's get back to work.
Get back to work, man. Hit them with a wrench and let's get it done. Get over it. Like, come on.
Yeah, so some of the guy drama I've seen is like, wow.
They can be. I'm used to it now. Like I said, I've been in this field for a long time, so it's been predominantly males. So you just get immune to their stuff, you know. Like it just becomes like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Go cry a river over there.
Tough skin and be really strong, you know, to deal with some of the knuckleheads. I'm pretty sure I would say yours is probably a little different than mine, you know, because you know, but. They be all on you.
Honestly, I've never really had that issue for the most part. Like, this is usually what happens in shops, right? I start there. No one talks to me for like a solid week and a half, at least. Like, solid. Everybody is scared to look at me. No one talks to me. Everybody's scared to talk to me because they're scared of saying the wrong thing, right? They have no idea. They don't know if they, like, make a joke or say something if I'm going to go to HR and fire them, right? So it's like dead fucking silent. And like, they act like I don't exist for like a month, sometimes a month. But once they get used to me and realize that like my mouth is just as bad as theirs and like I can take a joke and it's fine. But yeah, I was interested in like knowing how, like, cause you said you've had some challenges as a mechanic, so I was wondering if there was challenges as a business owner too that you've had, or have you kind of just proved yourself in the area at this point to where they're like, that chick knows what the fuck she's talking about?
I mean, I definitely did that. Just by being out here and proving myself, I've made a name, and I know a lot of customers and stuff like that. So I definitely created the clientele. But I still continually get new customers. So it's like an ongoing thing to just kind of like implement that and let people see and know that, hey, we know what we're doing. We qualified at what we're doing. So you can trust us as your mechanic providers, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's an ongoing thing that I'll forever have to prove myself in this industry. Just as more as we're growing, it's just going to continue to be that, you know? But I'm up for the challenge. So I just feel like, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. I think the truck industry, for the little short time I worked in the truck industry versus the heavy equipment industry, like, it's all about location. There is a whole different social dynamic for women in the trades depending on the area you're in. And B, the industries, like the semi industry, I did not find as friendly and open to the idea of me being a mechanic as a heavy equipment side, which seems like it would be totally ass backwards. But, you know, or like the area, like when I worked in Denver, Colorado, you know, I would have the issue every now and then where the group of guys would like walk into the shop to go talk to the people in the office, and they'd see me in the bay and they'd just sit there and stare, to the point where my boss would have to be like, all right, you guys need to either get the fuck out, or like, you know, she's not here for you to look at. She's here to fucking make us money. And which that shop was great at protecting me. They did a great job. They were fucking awesome. But, you know, then I worked in places like Wyoming. Women in the trades is kind of a more normal thing there. There's female ranchers fucking everywhere. You know, every girl there likes diesels. Like, it's just the culture of Wyoming. You know, women have been working on ranches and helping for so long that, you know, guys see a girl in the shop and they still think it's cool. Most of them still think it's cool, but it's not like this awe-inspiring thing because there it's more normal. I guess it's more of a normalized thing for women to do men's jobs. So in Wyoming, like the last job I worked at, I ran the shop for about 3 months. And even when I wasn't running the shop, I was a second-hand man to the person that was. So when they were gone or they were busy or like the first guy that ran the shop just decided to say fuck the office for a few hours and work in the shop, I would take over the office for a little bit. I built up a really good clientele to where they knew, like, if I wasn't working on it, they trusted me that I would pick the right mechanic to work on it, because we had one mechanic in particular that he was good at some things and not others, which so was the other mechanic, right? So they kind of trusted me to either me myself work on it or divvy it out to the right mechanic. And I built up a lot of people there that really liked me. I still had a couple of people, even after they hired a new boss and I wasn't the boss anymore, I had a couple of people still calling me, still wanting to go through me instead of the new guy. I had a couple people still call me boss lady. I had a couple of them, like even the guys, because we would send people down from other shops to help out with other shops. It's just how that company worked. They would send people around to help. And I had this one guy that came down. He was an older guy, fucking goofy as hell, but he'd come down and help our shop with his field truck. And he helped me out a lot when I was running the shop, because I was trying to run the shop and be the only shop mechanic at the same time. So he would come down and help me. And he still, till the day I left, he called me boss lady. Till the day I left. And it drove the new boss fucking crazy. But he told me, like, he's like, fuck that guy, you're still my boss lady. Okay. But I tried to do right.
Once you go and you work and people see you, they want to respect you as that, you know, and they understand your worth. So that makes you feel good when people do acknowledge, like, hey, that leadership in you, that it exists. So that's cool.
Well, and they trust you to give it to them straight, right? Like, when I was running the shop, obviously you got to be, you know, word things, you know, professionally and be on your shit when you're trying to run the shop. But when I was running the field techs, I scheduled all the field techs and I scheduled all the shop work. And some people didn't like that, like, I didn't schedule my field techs like 18 jobs in one day, because it's Wyoming, right? Everything is like an hour away, at least. And you gotta fucking get there, diagnose it, try to repair it, then get all the fucked way back to the shop. So for the most part, if it was a job that was scheduled outside of Cheyenne, Wyoming, I scheduled one field call a day per technician, because I gave them time to get to the shop, remote into the machine, get an idea of what could be wrong with it, get parts that they may need, get to the job site, look at it, diagnose it, do whatever repairs they think they can do, and come back. And if they had time, which honestly, usually they fucking didn't, but if they had time when they came back, then we might be able to get to the next customer earlier. So it's a win-win. I'm not going to be late on the customer that's supposed to be the next day, right? The next customer in line. He's not going to be mad because I scheduled the other field tech so tight that he couldn't make it. But if he gets there earlier, then that guy's happy, right? It's kind of like, I felt like it was a win-win. And for the field techs, you know, compared to the boss that was before me, they thought that was great because we didn't have the workload to need to cram that much shit into one day. We just didn't have that workload. There was no reason to do that. So they enjoyed it. They liked my scheduling. The customers liked it. I was realistic with customers about, hey, I can get out here this day. This is the day. It might be earlier, but this is when I can know I'm there. And the way I scheduled it, the promises were kept, and they were happy with that. And that's what customers really need, right? Some of them expect miracles. You know, there are some that expect miracles, but a lot of them just want realistic shit. They want realistic pricing. They want realistic timelines, shit like that. And as long as you can give them that, they're happy.
Of course, that communication is definitely key and very important, especially and that's what I do a lot with customers. I just kind of like try to keep them, like, a lot of them might not understand like the machines or the equipment, but I try to like inform them to the simple form of it. You know, send them videos, pictures, anything that help them identify what the issue is without them having to be a mechanic. And they kind of like gives that trust, and they kind of like, you know, that builds trust with them by them actually seeing what we're doing versus just taking their money and the time.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep.
Well, customers love to see, right? Like in the shop, we'd have customers come and check on their machines all the time, especially after you do an inspection and you're trying to sell them like $30,000 worth of shit. They want to come in and they want to see why the fuck you think their machine needs $30,000. It's like, you can't just tell them, hey, bro, it's because your machine's ancient as fuck and you haven't done any maintenance to it. Okay, you can't tell them that, right? So you got to show them, like, hey, you know, like, this is kind of worn out. You definitely need some servicing. Like, I checked all this shit. And you can show them physically, like, hey, this bearing is bad, or you've got a leak here, and physically show them stuff. Then they can be like, all right, maybe it's worth it. But if you don't let them see it at all, then they're going to be like, I don't understand why I need to spend $30,000. What is there shit on this paper that doesn't really need to be done? And you're just telling me that to get money out of me? But then you show them the lake on the floor where it's leaking, and they're like, okay, that makes more sense. Maybe we'll fix that.
Yep. It makes it easier to sell anyway, just being able to identify for them and show them what you got to do.
Well, it seems like you've got a pretty good handle on your shit, and you've built a pretty good reputation in your area. You've built a pretty good success off of it.
I think so. I think we're doing pretty well. We actually got locations in Texas right now, where we got techs located there, in New Jersey, New York, and Florida. So we're trying to expand.
Cool.
I definitely take over the East Coast, but definitely trying to get to the West and the Midwest areas.
Well, there's not that many, for, you know, semi side of it, there's not that many field companies that I know of that will do all of that heavy work.
They lazy. They lazy.
Yeah.
You got some people that just stick to the most simplest stuff. You know, they keep it simple, but I mean, you can't just do one thing, especially if you have clients and customers that's depending on you to keep their fleet going. You just can't limit to yourself to what you're gonna do. Otherwise, you're either gonna lose the customer, or it's gonna have too many hands on the equipment. So you just want to be,
which is the last thing you want,
right? So you always want to be for all their needs, and that's what we try to do.
Well, it's cool because, like, you know, as a customer, I can see, like, either A, you have, like you said, the field mechanics that literally just do the easy shit, or you have a company that does do all the heavy shit, but they make you ship it back to the shop. And then you have to pay the shipping, like, you got to pay the tow truck to tow it and all that shit.
So it's a lot of cost on the customer. And then, you know, if the truck goes to the shop or equipment, it's going to be there. So a lot of these people, you know, they can't afford for their equipment to be down for weeks at a time. And, you know, that could put them out of business just like that, just off of not being able to generate that income. So we try to get like a around on equipment and get the trucks back up and rolling for them.
Well, that's good. Like I said, I think that's, you know, that's kind of part of the reason why Diesel Laptops is so successful, is because they found, just like you did, they found that niche that a lot of people needed, but there wasn't a lot of the supply for it, or good supply for that need, and they fucking ran with it. And that's definitely a great way to be successful. And that's exactly what it sounds like. What you did is you found that niche where you're like, okay, there's tons of people that run field trucks, but nobody is doing heavy work as a field truck. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to create this company, and then, you know, we're not going to have much competition for a while because we're going to be the only ones that are willing to do that. And I'm sure your customers love you guys for that.
Right. I mean, we got guys that done did like water pumps, all that on the side of the road. You know, where like you said, most shops will say, "Hey, we got to take that back in," or shop tech. They not gonna do that. Like they gonna be like, "Oh no, we gotta bring that back to the shop." But we just we get it done, so that kind of works out.
Do you guys run big service trucks? I take it, like big over the road service trucks.
Medium duty, to kind of keep down on costs and stuff, especially like navigating through the Atlanta area. It's a lot of traffic, so we don't want them like like getting into accidents and stuff like that. So we try to make it where it's easy for them to navigate through the areas and stuff like that with their equipment. But we keep everything, and like we got a lot of vendors and stuff we get parts from. To kind of like accommodate and get that stuff taken care of in an expedited time frame. And we also use the diesel laptop software too. I use it for and I like the feature on it where we can actually go in and pull up like information and stuff about any type of truck or equipment. You can just go into that feature on it and get that, or they can pull up the fault codes and it gives you a description of everything. So I don't know how user friendly it is to some people, but it's definitely a good device.
Well, diesel laptops is, in the programming, has the same issue. And this is what I told people at the trade show that I just went to, that Con Expo thing, is it's the same issue as Service Advisor, CAT ET, CAT Sys, all that shit. All of those systems have a learning curve. All of them. The difference is that, people like me who use Service Advisor, I used Service Advisor for 7 years. I had to use Service Advisor every day. I had people there to teach me how to use it. I had people there to teach me how to navigate it, and I had the training to learn how to do it. Diesel laptops is an option. That's not something that's like at a dealership that is just, that's what they use, right? So I like the system. I watched the demo guy. I watched the guy do the demo quite a bit, and I played with it a little bit at the Con Expo, and I liked it. I was actually impressed with it. For me, I liked it better than Service Advisor. I love the function where you can be in a schematic and click on a sensor, and it gives you all the information on that sensor. That's shit I've been wanting John Deere to do with Service Advisor for fucking years. That's great. I think that's great. But I think, a lot of these people that bitch about it are the same people that bitch about Service Advisor and bitch about all the other computer programs. They don't take the time to figure out how to use it.
Exactly. Every software you use you're gonna have to learn how to utilize it. It's just, and they all have different perks and stuff. So it's like you gotta understand what you're doing. And once you do, then it just becomes like second nature. You're like, oh, I really like it, because now you know how to use it and how to use the functions the right way. So I definitely about that.
No, I agree. Like I said, I thought the system was great. I wish I could, they're going to get me into where I can actually really look through it and play with it a lot. But I thought it was great. Like I said, we had a bunch of customers that, or people that came to the booth that said they have 5 or 6 laptops just to do what one diesel laptop does. Because they got to have one for CAD, and they got to have one for fucking Cummins, I'm like, to me, I've never had to, that never crossed my mind before now. Because as a dealership, all you do is Service Advisor or working. We had, the one dealership I worked at was a John Deere dealership, a work-in paving equipment dealership, and a Manitowoc crane dealership. So even then, that's only 3 systems. And we were dealership level on all 3. So we had all that shit. Now, I could only fucking imagine trying to be somebody not at a dealership level, trying to do that. And I've always wondered, how the fuck do these people even figure any of this shit out without this stuff? How the fuck?
Can't. You're going in it blind without it, You're throwing parts at it if you don't have the right equipment to check it out and run the right test to get to the bottom of it.
Well, yeah, and you can know how to diagnose electrical all you want. Right? You can know the ins and outs, you can understand how electrical works and everything. But if you don't got the goddamn diagram to tell you which wires you're supposed to be testing, all that information is fucking useless.
You don't know where to go. You don't know where this sensor located. You know, none of that. You can't find out that information. Like, no, you gotta have the information.
Well, even at dealerships, I've seen people fuck that up. Like, I watched a kid replace a controller, and it was a fucking fuse. I mean, he tried to test it, right? He like tested a bunch of shit, and he came to the conclusion that this particular part of the system wasn't getting power out of the controller. What he forgot to test was, does the controller have power? Is there an input going into the controller? And there was not. The fucking fuse for that controller was blown.
Gotta start at the basics, the beginning.
Exactly.
Keep it simple, stupid. Right? That's what they always say, is keep it simple, stupid.
Because sometimes you'll go too far off in the deep end and get too
God.
And the answer was already there, and you just skipped right on over and went straight to the hard stuff.
I always tell people, like, the diagnostic trees in Service Advisor for John Deere, I've always told people, like, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing or you don't understand the system, follow it. But if you understand what you're doing, there's a lot of steps you can move around and skip, right? Because there's a lot of things that are redundant or don't make sense. Like, I always tell people, like, if there's a test that you can do that doesn't rely on the specifications from a different part of the test and it's easier, do the easy shit first. There's no reason to be ripping, like, for an example, there's no reason to rip the valve cover off and do a mechanical compression test immediately, right? There's a bunch of other shit you can do that's easy and less time consuming. Do the easy shit first, do the simple shit first, and then try and dive into the deep shit, because even using those diagnostic trees, like you said, you can dive like way the fuck into the deep end, off the fucking rabbit hole, and you are so fucking far away from what the actual problem is. But it happens.
It happens.
Learning, that's all. You get sharper. You sharpen up better the more and more you do it. So
yep.
It's just a part of the game, really, honestly. Like you said, you never go everything, so it's part of it.
You're always learning. Like, it's like kind of convenient or like coincidental we're talking about that. I just made a post on Instagram today talking about how, like, you know, every day, like, I judge my success on new capabilities that I give myself, new tools I'm giving myself, new skill sets, because being a mechanic is not just, you know, what people think it is. It's not just changing parts. It's not just this or that. Like, I've always tried to give myself new skill sets and new capabilities. Like, before I started in the industry, I knew how to weld. I could MIG weld pretty decently. I did that all the way through high school. But I learned how to, like, run a thermal lance. I learned how to air arc, anything like that I had the possibility or the opportunity to learn, I did. And it's just another tool in your toolbox to use, because the last thing I wanted as a mechanic was to get a big job, because I love big jobs. They're my favorite. And the last thing I wanted is to be denied a big job because I didn't have the skill set, because I said no to an opportunity where I could have learned that skill set.
I think that's between a male and a female too, honestly.
Probably. I worked with a man that was very, like, he was a really good mechanic, but he got to the point in his career where he just thought he was hot shit, and he would, like, refuse to work on things like cranes, for example. He thought he was too good to work on cranes. He's like, that's not my job, I'm not working on it. It's like, bro. And then he started getting, obviously, a bad name, which is a shame, because then all of his skills kind of, like, were wasted, because people started getting pissed off because he was denying jobs because he was too good for them. Where, you know, for the most part, women are like, pulling a transmission on a crane? Yes, I will do that. And no one else. I pulled a transmission on a crane for one of my bosses, and I was the first person in the company to ever pull a transmission on the crane. But I thought it was cool. Yeah. Like it.
You know? So That's the beauty of it. Like I said, you always gotta go above and beyond, and always sharpen your skills as a female in this industry. Like you can't just be okay, and you can't just be lukewarm in the terms of like you can just be a regular mechanic. You have to be like good, because if not, they gonna eat you up, spit you out.
Yep. Yep.
No, I've always wanted to be, that was always what I strived to be, was the mechanic that, like, if they had some fucked up job or something that was really hard or they needed the best for whatever they needed it, that was the person, right? Or at least one of the people in the shop. That's always kind of been my goal. And I have fucked up a lot of shit over the years and had lots of learning experiences to get there. But it was worth it. That's how you learn, right?
Yeah, you're gonna learn. You'll learn. That's the only way you're gonna learn. Like I said, you're gonna have to make some mistakes in this stuff, man. Sometimes they can be a little costly, though. They can cost, especially dealing with
the first. Yep.
Oh man, them parts not cheap at all.
The first backhoe transmission. Remember how I told you I'd done like 1,000 of them? Well, my very first experience as a backhoe transmission was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 months in, 8 months maybe. My boss is like, I know this is over your head. I don't care how fast you get it done. Just do it and figure it out, right? And what it was is the K2 clutch pack. There was like a PIP in the J, like, which is product improvement program, which is a really fancy John Deere term for a recall. It is. They call it some fucking fancy thing. It's a recall. They had a recall in the K2 clutch pack for the transmission. So you had to pull it out, split it in half, take out the clutch pack, put it back, a new one back in, put it back together. Well, I did that. I got it out, horribly struggled through that. Got it out, got it split apart, and they have these little tiny sealing rings in the end of these clutch packs that break, and you will never know it's broken until you put it back in and you don't have a gear. So I did the right steps, right? I got the thick grease. I got the sealing rings on there. I got all the clutch packs put back in, all nice and straight. Got the half put back on. Put the torque converter on all the way, I thought. Put the torque converter on. Put it back in. And I went to go bolt it up to the fucking bell housing of the transmission. And I guarantee you know exactly what I'm going to say. So there's like this much gap between the bell housing and the transmission housing, right? And I can't get it to go all the way in. I can't get it to, I'm like, you know what? It's so close. I can run that in with the bolts, right? Yep. I'm like, I can squeeze that on with the bolts. Well, I do that and I kind of hear a pop and I'm like, oh, it must be just because, it's in there. It's fine, right? Well, I go to start it, no transmission oil pressure. Like none. No transmission oil pressure. And I'm like, what the fuck? Well, turns out after I had to take it back out, tell you what, I cut my removal time in half the second time I did it. Once I got the transmission back out and split apart, actually, I figured out that the torque converter has a bunch of different splines in there. Well, I didn't get it splined all the way to the transmission pump. And the ears were contacting, and when I sucked that transmission and bell housing together, it fucking broke the ears off the transmission pump. So I had to split it again and replace the transmission pump and then put it back in. But I tell you what, I have never made that mistake again. Not once.
The goal is that you learn from it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, when I fucked that up, my boss is like, you better have this out and back in 8 hours. Or I think he gave me 10. He's like, you better fucking have this shit in and out and you better fucking hurry up. Get your shit done. And I did. I cut my removal time in like half because I don't know, I just did it yesterday, right? I just did this.
Broken apart before. Like,
Yep. That was fun. So I fucked with so much shit. But
well, is there anything else you want to cover or talk about before we kind of wrap this up? Or do you have a fuck up story you would like to share? Share time.
On the transmission before. It's like you said, I did stuff where forgot to put an O-ring on, put everything back together, and then the oil was pouring out of it. So we definitely got some of the same similar stories. as far as experiences that we've had. Never had any wheels off or anything like that. But in the beginning, definitely when it comes to like, making sure everything is aligned properly. And, I hate dealing with, like, I know you deal with hydraulics a lot, but I hate dealing with certain hydraulics because it's hard to like line up those lines and make that. So, but that's, other than that, I think that's pretty much the same stuff that we've encountered.
Leaving parts, assembling something, and then realizing one of the parts is sitting on the workbench.
That's fun.
A boat or something.
Done that before. I had a grader axle that I pulled apart because it was leaking, and it had inboard planetaries and brakes, which is like super, like, long story short, it's a fucking pain in the ass to get that all splined together with all the little axle housings together. And so I had it apart, put it back together. It went together way smoother than I expected. And I'm like, this is fucking nice. I'm fucking rock star, right? Well, I'm cleaning up my workbench and stuff and getting shit cleaned up for the end of the day. And there's this little fucking triangle washer sitting on the workbench. And I'm like, I'm looking at it, and I look at my axle, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, fuck. What they have is the planetaries are bolted down, like the little housing is bolted down, and it has this little star bolt, or like 12-point bolt, and it's just this stupid little like anti-rotation washer, just in case that bolt started to come loose. That's all it is. It's like an anti-rotation washer that goes over the head of the bolt and like sits in there. And I'm like, fuck me. And I'm sitting there, right? I'm trying to decide how important this part is and if I really need to put it back in there. I'm like, I'm not going to sleep at night if I leave this out. So I had to tear apart. Obviously, I don't know which side it's for. So I had to tear, obviously the first side I tear down thinking it's that side was not the side. That side had the washer. So I had to tear down literally the entire fucking axle all over again for that one fucking washer.
Just to have a peace of mind that you did it right. Period.
Yep. And then going back together was not as easy, by the way. That sucked. It was a horrible experience.
Because you was already frustrated when you broke down that side and had to go to the other.
Yep.
That's like the
worst.
Yeah, I was already mad.
Like, yeah, that's you just throw the towel in and come back tomorrow.
Yep, and then nothing ever works right. After you have something like that happen, then, like, obviously it's not going to go back together as easy, right? Because it's just, it wants to, like, just be a pain in the ass. I'm going to be a pain in the ass to get back together. Watch me do this. Fuck. So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, the mechanics joke all the time. They're like, oh yeah, put something back together. This is nice. Look at the parts counter. Fuck. That's supposed to be in there.
Oh man. That's crazy. Well, yeah, we definitely got some stories. Definitely. What I would say is, like, when it comes to size and the stuff that we do, like, everybody think you got to be so strong. It's not about your strength. It's about your technique. Like, once you figure out technique, you don't need a whole bunch of strength, like, to do stuff. You just got to, like I said, even with the tires, like, they be trying to manhandle a tire. Like, I just use a, like,
or the drums.
Yeah, like, I'm not finna. Like, so.
Yep.
Well, I tell people that all the time, too. And, like, you don't have to be big to be in this industry. Like, most of this shit, just work smarter, not harder. Especially in the equipment stuff. Like, no one's lifting a 400-pound fucking hydraulic pump. Or, hydrostatic pump stack. No one's gonna lift that shit. Like, yeah, you can go a long ways with a ratchet strap and a pry bar. You can get a lot of shit done with a ratchet strap and a pry bar. Turbos, I've done turbos that way. I've done water pumps. Like, some of the loaders have water pumps on them. I have no fucking idea why. But they got a water pump on it, like this fucking big. And it's awkward, right, to try and get up there. Ratchet strap.
Yeah, we're not gonna fight with it. We work smart. So it's all about techniques. Like, certain techniques to get the job done to make you more efficient. That's it. Like,
yep.
Well, and the button on the crane works. I mean, works great.
Got an advantage because you can use your own equipment to, like,
do
stuff stuff, you know, especially like pulling, lifting stuff. You can use something else to lift it up and do all that. So you got an advantage in when you get your hands on the equipment.
Yep, that's how people ask me all the time. They're like, "Oh, heavy equipment, that's so big. Like, how can someone so small work on something so big?" I'm like, I think it's easier because everything is designed to be lifted by a machine, right? Or by a crane. None of this shit is designed to be done by hand. Almost everything is designed. They've got lifting brackets and all kinds of shit made for this stuff. Like, doesn't matter how much you weigh if you can press a button on a crane. Like, now the semis is kind of a different story, but
to a certain extent, we still use like the ratchet straps and stuff like that. But I would say the main and the most important thing that I would use is just like implementing my safety when I do my stuff. But it's not complicated. It's really not. You just got to use technique and just, you know, be careful.
Yep.
And I say my identity stuff is because I can fit in a lot of places. So like I turn my time down in half because like you gotta take all this stuff off just to get to that one spot. My little small stuff gonna slide right on in there, touch it right quick, and I can still
up over the transmissions in between the. Yep. I bet you can
fit there. If he can't, you can. Yep. In there.
Hey man, I'm climbing right on top of it. Like, here we go.
Yep.
I've been shoved up the auger tubes of a combine before to help do motors because my ass can fit up the fucking combine auger tubes.
Wow. Cutting that time and like saving that time, yo. That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that's dope.
You gotta work with your advantages, right?
Yep. The disadvantages. So hey, it's thing when you like I said, you learn techniques to do stuff. It's no such thing as a disadvantage. You just use it. So
yep.
Well, do you have, like, I usually use this part of the episode to allow people to say, like, if you have any social media you want people to know about, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, your business website, whatever you want to share. Now's the time.
Okay, so pretty much you can follow us on Instagram, Smart Decision, SmartDecision. You can also find us on Facebook at Smart Decision Motor Repair. You can visit our website at www.wefixitsmart.com and book an appointment. If you're in our area, we can come out, service your equipment wherever you at. And our phone number is 843-1225. So if you can't reach us via email at smartdecision.com, then you can definitely reach us at www.wefixitsmart.com.
Perfect.